So in the previous video, not only did we make some shapes, but we added some color. So you might have tried to figure out what other colors can you write. Can you write magenta? Can you write fuchsia? Can you write seafoam green? Now there is another way to do color. A way to do color where you can specify exact shades that you want as long as you can make it. But how do you explain to the computer that you want a particular shade of green? How can you do that without showing it that green? So it comes to color models. And you're already familiar with a color model, even if you're not aware of the term. When you're a kid and you take art, and you get to play with paint, you learn a color model. You learn the RYB color model, the red, yellow, blue color model. And you learn that if you mix them in certain ways, you get different colors, right? So red and yellow make orange, and yellow and blue make green, and blue and red make purple. If you mix them all up together, you get a really gross, like, brown color or something, right? So that is a specific color model. But not everything uses that same color model. Computers use a color model, but it's not that one. Computers use RGB, red, green, and blue. These are also sometimes called the primary colors of light. And these are the actual shades of red, green, and blue on the computer, the pure shades of it. They're much brighter than you see in paint normally. And to make other colors, you also mix these, but they mix a little differently. When you mix these colors of light, they get brighter because they're light. Your screen is emitting light. It's not just color on something, it's actually light being emitted by the screen. When we mix these, it tends to make something even brighter than the colors we already see. So if we mix red and blue together, we get magenta, which is like a bright purple-ish. If we mix green and blue together, we get cyan, which is like a bright bluish, greenish, turquoisey color. And if we mix red and green together, we get yellow. Now you might say, well, where's orange? Well, it's somewhere between yellow and red. You're going to have to figure that out if that's the color you want. And you might be wondering where purple is. Well, you have magenta. If you make it darker, it's probably going to look a little purpley. And to make those other colors, or even to make these colors, to make the yellow, magenta, or cyan, we control how much red, and how much blue, and how much green. And we do that with numbers. So we're going to look at something that has 6 value spots in a row. And so the first 2 value spots are for red, RGB. The second 2 value spots are for green, the second letter in RGB. And the last 2 value spots are blue, which is the last letter in RGB. So it ends up looking sort of like this. How much red do we want? How much green do we want? And how much blue do we want? Fill. And instead of putting a word here, we're going to put a number. So we'll put the pound sign. And let's start with just 0, 0, 0, 0. So this is 0 red, 0 green, and 0 blue. And if I save this, and I open it, there we go. We have a little black part of a circle. Now you might wonder where the rest of the circle is. Well, we didn't set the CX or the CY value, so the CX and CY value are both 0, and 0 is right here, and then it's building the circle out from that center point. And if you want to see this color model, like sort of a wheel type shape, like you might be used to seeing the red, yellow, blue color model, we can actually go into our software here, just into Keynote, and if we go to Style and we hit this little color panel, you've probably seen this before. Here it is, right here. Here is our color wheel. Now, it's a slightly different orientation than mine is. It has green up here and red here and blue down here, but you can see it's the same. Here's green, here's red, here's blue. And yellow is between green and red, and magenta is between blue and red, and cyan is in between green and blue. And you can see orange here, so it's in between the yellow and the red, just like I had said. Now, if we want to make that circle red, then we need to change the first 2 values. So, if 0, 0 is nothing, then what's a lot? Now, I could put 100 here, right? But the thing is, I just changed the number of values it's not supposed to have 7 characters, it's only supposed to have 6. So I need to keep 6 here. So I guess the next biggest thing to 100 would be 99, right? So let's try 99. So if I save that, Command S, and I open this with Firefox, there we go. We have not a very bright red section of a circle. And if I put those back to 0, and I change the next ones, RGB, so this should be green, 99, and I save it, and I open this with Firefox, now it's green. And if I modify the last one, let's put this back to 0, 0, that should be blue, right? RGB, blue. So 99, and I save it, Command S, and I hit refresh. Now it's blue. But none of those are very bright. So what's greater than 99? Well, 100 would be, but once again, I can't change how many values. There can only be 6 values here. So on the computer, it's actually not 0, 0 to 99. It's actually 0, 0 to FF. And that might sound a little confusing, but that's how the computer counts. And there's a more technical reason behind that, but I don't want to get into that right now. That might be a little confusing. Basically, the way it works is we have 16 values for that 0. And there are 2 zeros. So we actually have 16 values for both zeros. So that 16 values is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. So A is like 10, B is like 11, C is like 12, D is 13, E is 14, and F is 15. Now I said 16 values, but F only goes to 15. But that's because 0 is a value as well. So that's just how computers count. 0 through F is essentially 1 through 16, sort of. But you get the idea. So if we multiply 16 times 16, we actually get 255. So there's 255 values for each of these 3 colors, red, green, and blue. So let's try it out. If we go back here, and instead of 99, we change this to FF, and we hit Command S, and we refresh, now we have a much brighter blue. If we want a bright green, we can change this to FF. Command S for save, bright green. Now, I've been keeping these numbers the same, but they don't have to be. This could be 9F. And Command S and refresh, and that works. This could be F3. Save it, and refresh. As long as both of these numbers, values, are somewhere between 0 and F, that's fine. FG wouldn't work because G is after F, and it gets confused. So FF is fine, FG not fine. Now if we want to mix them to get other colors, like we had said that red plus green equals yellow, well, we have green at FF, and we have red at 0. So let's make red FF, and Command S for save, and if we refresh it, now we have yellow, and that's a little hard to see, so maybe let's change it to a different one. Let's get, this should be cyan, right? Because red, green, blue, yeah, that's probably going to be hard to see too. Actually, let's make magenta. So red is all the way, no green, and blue is it all the way. So Command S for save and refresh, and there we go, magenta, pretty easy to see. Now what happens if we make all of them FF? So as much red as possible, as much green as possible, and as much blue as possible. And if we refresh, the circle's gone. Did we break it? No, actually, the circle is now white. So if I just copied and pasted that line, and let's make this 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and let's make this bigger than the previous one. Save it and refresh it. Oh, I haven't been closing my tags. That's terrible. We'll fix that. There we go. Much better. Refresh that. There we go. Now we have a white circle on top of a black circle. This is not a hole in the black circle. It is actually a circle on top of it. And if we want to see the whole circle, we can add in the CX and the CY values, right? So maybe this should equal like 100. And we'll make this equal 100. And you know what? I'm just going to make all of them equal 100. And now, hopefully we'll be able to see the whole circle. There we go. White circle, black circle. If we want it to be a different color, like maybe that cyan we mentioned a few minutes ago, cyan circle on top of a black circle. So that's kind of how it works. When you're thinking of this 0, 0 to FF, don't think of it as like dark to light, because this red and this blue is not very light. What they are is they're bright, so think of it as dark to bright. Sure, when you add all of them together it gets really light, but on their own it isn't. It's dark to bright. And so that's the basis of it. So what now? Play with it some. What colors can you make?